In this tutorial, we're going to take a piece of Action Illustrated clip art and convert it into an embroidery file. You can see here that in addition to the Easy Stitch software, I also have the Action Illustrated Instant Designer installed. This is a tool that we use to manipulate and work with all of our vector clip art. I can click on the template browser here, which makes all of my Action Illustrated clip art keyword searchable. I'm going to go ahead and search for heart. Then I just click on the heart that I want to use and hit open. Before I go ahead and start adding stitches to this image, we do need to do a few things first. We're going to go ahead and change the size of this image. You don't want to convert this to stitches and then try and change the size because it will definitely affect the look and stitch out of your design. I'm going to go ahead and select all of this. Right here in CorelDRAW, I can see that the size of my vector graphic is over 6 inches wide and 3 inches tall. I'm going to go ahead and size this down a bit. I'm going to make it 5 inches. Just hit 5, click OK. As long as my ratio is on lock, which it is, then it will do it proportionally. So now it's less than 3 inches tall. Next, I'm going to go ahead and work with my vector design a little bit. So let's see, you can see I have these little shines on my heart, and then I also have these black outline shapes in between the shines and the heart. For embroidery, I'm just going to go ahead and delete that. So I just click on it and I'm hitting the delete button on my keyboard. Next, let's take a look at this design a little bit. There we go. It consists of a black silhouette object with smaller shapes, colored objects that are lying on top of the black shape here. This is a great image for screen printing or vinyl cutting, but if I digitize this as is, there will be too many stitches because it will stitch the black shape as one solid shape and then all of these shapes as solid shapes on top of it. So before I'm going to digitize this, I'm going to go ahead and select everything and then click on Simplify. What this does is it basically trims everything out. So it has trimmed all of these shapes out from each other. Also with the shines, if I move this over, you can see how my pink has been trimmed out. Now I won't have any overlapping stitches. I can digitize this image as is right now, but I want to make my file a little more efficient for my embroidery machine. So let's check out our Object Manager, which is right down here. It's the third tab. If it's not on, you can just go to Tools and make sure that Object Manager is selected. This shows us the order in which our design will be stitched. You can see that as it stands right now, I will have unnecessary color changes because I'm going from black to purple to pink to white to purple to white to purple. All of those would be a different color change. So let's group our colors together. I'm going to take all of my lavender shapes, I'm just clicking on them, and then I hold down my control button and I come through and I can select all of my lavender shapes. And I'm going to go ahead and now drag them to the bottom of my Object Manager. These are going to then stitch out first. Then let's go ahead and take all of my white shapes. We'll make my white shapes next. So the wings will stitch out first, then the white shines, followed by the pink heart, and then lastly the black outline. Now we're truly getting somewhere, but we can do a little bit better. You can see as I click through the order of my objects, this is how the machine would be clicking them out. You can see that it would be, my machine would be doing a little bit of unnecessary jumping around. So I can actually make this better by placing my objects in a way that will make my design flow smoothly. So this is my first one, and then you can see as I'm clicking to the next one, it's moving through my object manager. So there was a jump right there. So see, now I can move these around in such a way that makes it the most efficient for my design. So see now as I click through my wing, or click through my curves here, it's going through my wing in an efficient way. Let's find this. I can click here and it will click on an object here, or I can choose an object in my design and it will go directly to it right here. So I want this piece to be my last piece. Taking a little extra time now before you start to digitize will make it much easier for you. Alright, perfect. So now my lavender shapes are in order. Then next we come to our white shapes. So we're just going to go ahead. All I'm doing is making sure that it's moving through my design in the most efficient way possible. So here I'll start, this is the first white shape that's going to be stitching out right here. And as I move through my design, you can see it's going to be doing it quite efficiently. Now I have made this vector design ideal for digitizing. Taking these extra 5 minutes before digitizing will make your digitized file so much cleaner. The last thing that I'm going to do before I convert my vector shape to stitches, I'm going to go ahead and set my recipe. I go to Action Apps, then Digitize Worksheet Properties. I'm going to go ahead and set this on a t-shirt, and we'll change it to a brother machine. Just as an example, go ahead and hit OK. Now it is time to digitize. So I'm just going to start at the beginning of my design here, beginning pieces here, and work my way through. I'm going to go ahead and start adding the satin stitches onto these wing pieces, so you can see that it's doing right there. Here I can actually even select several of them. Oops. There we go. We can go ahead and check this out in our 3D view. The satin paths look great, but I'm getting some, let's go ahead and take a look at this. You can see that I am getting some threads that are stretching in between each shape. We can easily fix this by adjusting our start and stop beads. If you remember, let's go ahead and make these. We have the start and stop beads right here. This is showing us where our shape is starting to stitch and where it's ending. You can see right now where the last shape ended and the next one starting. It's not doing it the most efficient way possible. So let's go ahead and see if we can get our machine or our designer to make it most efficient. So if I select all of my purple shapes here, I can go ahead and click on the auto start and stop. Now Let's go ahead and look at our beads. Now this has made it most efficient. It has taken these start and stop beads and lined them up in the most efficient manner. So if we check this out now in our 3D, we don't have any of those unnecessary jumps happening. So we can see right here it has added a trim that's just fine. I think this is great. Let's go ahead now and move on to our white shapes. I'm going to go ahead and convert those to satin paths as well. Just going to click on all these. Convert to satin path. Let's go ahead and do the auto start and stop for us. I'm also going to, let's come over to my Action Apps palette. I'm going to append a thread. I want to make this a slight color just so I can see what's happening in the stitches. There we go. So now I can actually see my stitches here. You see how I have a little bit of the pull compensation coming through here? I didn't set that. Me setting my recipe to be on t-shirt has automatically set that up for us, so we don't even need to worry about that. Let's go back to our object manager. The next shape we have is this heart. This I'm going to make into a complex fill because it's way too large to apply a satin path to it. There we go. I can adjust the angle at which the fill was applied by clicking right here on my angle lines tool. I'm just going to go ahead and adjust it a little bit. Go ahead and generate selection. Plus I can move over to my Action Apps object property and I can change my pattern if I'd like. Let's go ahead and check this out now in 3D. There we go. So you can see that my patterns happening in here. I have my satin stitches, my shines on top. However, I think now that I'm looking at this, I would like to adjust it so that my shines are on top of my heart. We can do that within the object manager and it is not going to be an issue whatsoever. Just take my pink, move it down here, and now it'll do that for us. So let's go ahead and check that out in 3D. So now my shines are on top of my design. See how though that is giving me these paths, these stitch lines that are not being trimmed. We can go ahead and trim those, or it is probably easiest just to keep the pink shape. If we put the pink shape on top of it, then it would just actually cover those. So I'm going to keep it that way. The last object we have is our black outline shape. I'm going to go ahead and apply a auto satin path to that shape. Let's give it a moment. It's kind of a large shape to think about. There we go. It did a pretty awesome job of that. Let's go ahead and check out our slice line tools. This is how it's breaking up this design. So you can see here, it has sliced everything correctly to make my heart shape here. This is pretty great. If I want to come in here and adjust things, I absolutely can. See, if I change my slice tools like that, let's go ahead and generate my selection. Here it's thinking about it. Actually, I think I did this incorrectly. I want it. There we go. Let's slice this up correctly. There we go. So see, now this is considered a shape. Yeah, this did a great job. So I can come in here and adjust things slightly if I'd like to, like here, I'm going to go ahead and change the way that this is cut up. Let's go ahead and check out my other wing. I'm just adjusting a little bit on how some of these shapes were sliced up, like this one was sliced up. I don't think I need this slice here. I'm going to go ahead and delete this one. Let's go ahead then and generate selection, so it's readjusting to how I change the slice tools. Perfect. And so you can see that pull compensation has been applied to this, which is absolutely great because we won't have any gapping whatsoever. Let's check this out in 3D. This looks great. This is exactly, I could send this right to my machine. All I'd have to do now is save out my file to come to the Action Apps and export Digitized worksheet. Then I can choose whatever file type I'd like to save it to take it into my machine. There we go.